Bill Belichick is widely regarded as the greatest coach of all time. In just 28 years as a head coach, he has amassed more wins than everyone but Don Shula, was the architect of the greatest dynasty in football and modern sports history, and won an unprecedented 6 Super Bowls as the head coach of the New England Patriots. According to some, he is the greatest defensive mind football has ever been blessed with. And while he certainly is a good coach, I think calling Bill Belichick the consensus GOAT is a bit blasphemous. No person in the long history of football has been as lucky as Bill Belichick. If Tom Brady had not fallen right into Belichick's lap, he would be regarded very differently. Before New England, Belichick had been fired from his previous coaching job of the Browns and was regarded by some as a man unfit to run a $2 hot dog stand. Since Brady departed New England, Belichick has a sub-500 record, with his biggest accomplishment being a thrashing at the hands of a division rival in the wildcard round. In this video, I'm going to examine what Bill Belichick's career looks like when you remove the greatest quarterback of all time from it. Belichick started his career off for the Baltimore Colts. After bouncing around for a while, he eventually earned the attention of the great Bill Parcells. Belichick eventually wound up being the defensive coordinator of those great Giants teams of the late 80s and early 90s. Belichick helped concoct the masterful defensive strategy of porting Lawrence Taylor at the opposing quarterback and yelling "sick 'em." This strategy led to the Giants winning 2 Super Bowls and Belichick being awarded the Cleveland Browns head coaching job. His time in Cleveland was a fiasco. Now some background on this Cleveland team. These weren't your dad's Browns. Within the previous 6 seasons, they had made the playoffs 5 times and been to multiple conference championships. Unfortunately for them, they kept running into John Elway. Art Modell, the Browns' owner at the time, was tired of falling short. Midway through a disappointing 1990 season, he fired his current coach and started looking for someone who would take Cleveland to the next level. Eventually, he found Belichick. Many of the criticisms leveled at Belichick these days were present in 1991. Belichick was cold, blunt, and unpersonable, aka the exact opposite of how you want the face of your franchise to act. Nevertheless, the Browns started 2-1 and looked like a much better team than the previous season. They would then lose 9 of their last 13 games and miss the playoffs. The team's offense and defense set right around league average, and Browns fans were left pondering what their future held. It should be noted that around this time, Belichick had brought in some all-time great college coaches in the making, with Nick Saban at defensive coordinator and Kirk Ferentz as the O-line coach. This team's staff looked rock solid, and indeed, the Browns did improve. For the first 10 weeks, they were above 500. Alas, it seems Belichick may have started the tradition of Browns' regular season collapse. The team would finish 2-5, go 7-9, and miss the playoffs. Going into year 3, Belichick knew it was a make-or-break year, and he seemingly rose to the occasion. Thanks to a dominant defensive line led by Michael Dean Perry, Rob Burnett, and Anthony Pleasant, the Browns' defense looked dominant early. This, paired with Eric Metcalf's performance on the ground and in the air, meant the Browns played a slow, methodical style of football, which saw them controlling time of possession. At least, that's what Belichick wanted to do. Bernie Kosar, the Browns quarterback, liked airing the ball out a little bit more. The two could tolerate each other's differences as long as the Browns were winning, but once the Browns started to lose, things got a bit tested. In a Week 8 loss to the Broncos, Kosar aired the ball out on one of the final plays of the game for a long touchdown. The score was meaningless, but it made Bill Belichick furious because he had called for a kneel. Belichick and Kosar screamed at each other for a while on the sideline, threw shots at each other in the post-game press conference, and would cut Kosar the very next week due to his, and I quote, diminishing skills. The Browns went from a 5-3 team in solid playoff contention to 7-9 once again and missed the playoffs. And to me, this is an extremely Belichickian move. He was willing to cut his starting quarterback and throw away the entire season because he had been disrespected. This mindset of his way or the highway is what would eventually lose him Tom Brady. 1994 would go on to be Belichick's best season in Cleveland by far. Despite Kosar's replacement, Vinny Testaverde, having a miserable 55% completion percentage and throwing more interceptions than touchdowns, they were one of the best teams in football, in large part due to their defense. This unit featured 4 Pro Bowlers, allowed the fewest points in football, and was led by All-Pro safety Eric Turner. This, in conjunction with a great running game, made this a dominant squad. At least for the first 7 weeks of the season. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Under Belichick, the Browns did not perform well in the second half of the season. They went from 6-1, the lock for the 1 seed in the AFC, to 11-5 and a wildcard team. They were fortunate enough to play the mediocre 10-6 Patriots before getting thwomped by the Steelers the next round. Belichick had failed to even make the conference championship, which the lowly Browns have been able to do 3 times in the 6 seasons preceding Belichick. Growing frustrated with his franchise's continued failures, Art Modell decided to move the team. He gave the Browns in the city of Cleveland 1 more year to change his mind in 1995. Belichick and the Browns started 3-1 before, and stop me if you've heard this one before, they completely fell apart. They lost 10 of their last 12 games, and halfway through that stretch, Modell made the announcement official that they were headed to Baltimore. Modell then lied to Belichick about coming to Baltimore with the team, and then fired him on Valentine's Day. This sent Belichick running back to Bill Parcells to take over the Patriots' linebacking coaching responsibilities. When Parcells became the Jets head coach, Belichick became their defensive coordinator. When Parcells moved into the front office, Belichick was given the job of head coach. How did Belichick repay the man who had constantly given him jobs and his first opportunity to be a coordinator in the NFL? Well, he stabbed the big tuna in the back and went to New England. Belichick didn't earn himself any new fans with this move. Adrian Wojnarowski said Belichick was best suited for the darkened caves of film rooms and should never have control over a franchise. And as previously mentioned, Ian O'Connor called Belichick a man unfit to run a $2 hot dog stand. Personally, I'm inclined to agree with O'Connor. In a then classic Belichickian move, he won 5 games with the Patriots, finished last in the AFC East, and had one of the worst offenses in the league. All while his former team, the now Baltimore Ravens, won the Super Bowl. Now we all know what happened next season. Mo Lewis delivered this hit on Drew Bledsoe, and the greatest run in football history began. 19 years later, the issues that plagued Belichick's early coaching career have resurfaced. The Patriots are struggling to land quality free agents because Belichick has not fostered an environment people want to come play. Veterans did not flock to New England for the chance to play under Bill Belichick. They wanted to play alongside Tom Brady. They knew so long as Brady was there, the Super Bowl window was open. Once he left, it wasn't worth dealing with the Patriot way for your only reward to be 8 wins. Belichick's cold and blunt style didn't really work in the 1990s when you could say whatever you wanted to players, and it certainly hasn't been working in the era of player empowerment. He ran Tom Brady out of New England and into his 7th Super Bowl parade, and he's running free agents away from that place now. Given that offenses are more dependent now than ever on star players, I don't think the Patriots will ever have another great offense while Belichick is still the head coach. No superstar receiver wants to go to New England and catch passes from Mac Jones, who looks like he may have already given up on the Patriots after just 2 years. And despite all my criticisms, I will never take anything away from Belichick's ability to orchestrate a defense. He is the greatest defensive mind in football history. But as we saw in this year's Super Bowl, defense doesn't win you championships anymore. Bill Belichick will be regarded by most as one of the greatest coaches in sports history, but it's about time for him to call it a career. The best he can hope for now is a wild card appearance. His head coaching career was only the success it was because of Thomas Edward Patrick Brady. Without him, I don't think Bill Belichick has 1 ring as a head coach, let alone 6. He is simply a great football mind shackled with the charisma of an anglerfish. Brady made him. But that's just what I think. Let me know how you feel about Bill Belichick in the comments below. Am I completely off base? Would he still be one of the greatest coaches ever without Tom Brady? If you disagree, leave a comment, and if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and please subscribe. Any support is tremendously appreciated.